back, and all three of us are actually here tonight. Annabelle has rejoined us from the grave, wherever she was. She is back now. Don't worry, Annabelle. I will say we took quite a hit last week. Did not get nearly as many views as we normally get. So I guess you are getting a lot more pull than you think from these episodes. So please don't ever miss again. No, just kidding. But Annabelle and John are both back to break down this latest episode of the challenge, episode 14 of Double Agents. We will probably not dive in at all to what is taking place on April 1st, which is the new challenge All-Stars, which I can't wrap my mind around because what's the point of having an all-star season for a show where it's always returning players anyway? Although that is not the point. It's just more of me saying I will probably not be watching that. John and Annabelle, welcome back. Pretty good episode tonight. Not really sure why what went down at the end went down. I feel like that might have made it too simple on a certain somebody without a gold skull.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it feels like because this show is so many returning players, everyone keeps their friendships above everything else when it comes to actually using strategy in this house. Because strategically, no way Corey should have ever gotten into that crater.
Annabelle?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it was his friendship with Anissa that kind of got him down there this week. It really seemed like she was rooting for him, and, Kyle had other ideas and how he wanted to sabotage things, and he was thinking a little bit more strategically, and I kind of wish he had gotten his way. I like Corey. I'm glad he was able to get his skull, but for drama purposes, now all the men in the game have a skull, but it was, we saw a legend go home tonight, so I guess there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, there's something to be said for that. I do think, though, I agree that it's kind of a bummer with having the pairings and us not knowing what happens if the pairs split the vote. I wish that was drawn out for us at the beginning of the game, because maybe it wasn't drawn out for the contestants either. And that's why they're a little bit less willing to do that, because I would like it if Kyle just went out there and said, I'm going Leroy, screw it. And then that puts the ball in Anissa's court. And then the punishment for Anissa and Kyle isn't that they go down. It's that, whoever had the second highest votes or something. I just wish we knew, because Kyle's ideas, yeah, he was trying to be vengeful and all of that, but they make sense. Get CT and Darrell against each other, and you're going to get a legend going home.
Yep.
Putting Corey against Darrell, all you're doing is giving Corey a chance to run the final, and Darrell, yeah, if he goes home, which is a big person going home, but you're now giving somebody who didn't have a gold skull a skull. So why not just even out the odds here, send down somebody with Darrell who already has a gold skull, make them go at it. Now Corey doesn't have a gold skull, and there's only 4 guys in the game who have them. That certainly seems to be making your odds a little bit better for this final.
Part of the concern I think Kyle might have with that, and why he wasn't too pushy about it, is because he was the target by the entire house this week. Had him and Anissa not won the daily, he was down in that crater today. Probably against Corey. Maybe puts up a better fight than Darrell did in this elimination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
But in the end, it's probably best for him not to rock the boat as much now. But at the same time, if he already has this target on his back, why not rock the boat?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They're so close to the end. There's so little time for much else to happen, and for not much time left for him to get that target off of his back. So if he has that power, yeah, I agree with you. I feel like it would be best to capitalize and take out one of the heavy hitters, which did end up happening anyway. It was just now you have everybody left with a skull instead of one floater.
And what's interesting is they could have also thought that this was the final male elimination of the season. And I mean, maybe it still is. We don't really know. I'm just going based on how much time is left and how many weeks we have left, that this won't be the final male elimination. But they don't necessarily know, oh, okay, well, this is the episode that's going to air on March 17th, which is different than March 24th. They don't know that. So they could be thinking this is the final male elimination. Maybe that's why Kyle, that's, I guess, why I don't understand why Kyle didn't push a little bit harder. Because if this is going to be the last male elimination, why not really push that issue and say, screw you, Anissa, I don't care. I'm about to have to run this final with you anyway. You should just be happy to be here. And this is our chance to get rid of 2 guys. I don't know why that wasn't necessarily the thinking, or maybe they were thinking this is the final male elimination unless Corey doesn't go down. And then because there's only 4 gold skulls for the men then, and then there's 1 gold skull just floating, oh, well, Corey's going to run against somebody to get that gold skull, and now it's got to be 4-on-4. I don't know what's going through their minds. I don't know if that's nice because we get so much about the fake drama and the the cuts to commercial that we don't really get into their minds as much as I would like to. But these are just thoughts, I guess, that I would have if I was in Kyle's position. But I do think he should have pushed harder here because you could be thinking, hey, 1 more elimination, and then we got 5 men running this. I don't want Darrell and CT both running this.
Yeah, you raise a very good point, and maybe this is just another reason why the skull twist just isn't working this season. Is because they thought, oh, there's a specific quantity of skulls that need to be achieved, and once we get down to everyone has a gold skull, that'll like trigger the final, right? So maybe those type of movements are being inhibited because of that thought process. And this twist is just, once again, stifling gameplay.
And so, Annabelle, I'm going to read this one off, and then it's going to you. SP Fan 68 says, Kyle and Anissa's move was good. They got the house to turn on each other, and Kyle and Anissa didn't even have to do the dirty work. No blood on their hands. They bluffed the house, and they bought it. However, my question, Annabelle, for you is, does it even matter at this point, or is it too late, and Kyle and Anissa are going to be the people who go down there no matter what when they don't have the power?
I mean, I think that is what's going to happen. I mean, TJ, at the end of the episode, he gave them, like, no indication that this was the last male elimination, which kind of sounds like to me that it's not. He said this is far from over. So it seems like even though there are only 10 gold skulls in the game, it doesn't necessarily mean that 10 people are going to run the final. And we talked about that previously because of, everybody who either quit or was not able to continue playing for medical reasons or whatever. Maybe they are forced to run a smaller final. But I think, I think politically it was a good move because you're not, making the rest of the house angry. But just with how little time is left in the game, if they don't win next week, yeah, I think they're absolutely going in.
What do you think, John?
At the very top of this episode, we have Kyle talking about the fact that him and Anissa have no allies in the house, right? We have him talking about how the only one person he has, like Anissa kind of has connections with people, but the only person he really has is a relationship with is Leroy. And Anissa already had Corey. So if that's the case, then you're not really gaining anything out of this relationship and out of this decision to put Corey down, because he's already kind of on your side because of how close he is with Anissa. Right. So it's not even like from a social standpoint, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and now we're at a point where all of the guys and all of the women know that they are right there. Big T is going to run a challenge. She's going to lose based on who's left. Sorry, Big T, but you're going to lose based on who's left. And then I think we're going to get 1 more male and 1 more female. I think everybody realizes how close they are. No one's going to be taking a shot at going against Leroy or Fessy at this point. Now it's too late to try to get rid of a big target. So guess what? Kyle's going to be the guy every single time. And for the women, while Anissa is good at some of these challenges, if she would have ran the one tonight, she would have gotten smoked. There was no chance for her to do the one tonight. So I think that the women are going to say, well, Big T is gone. Maybe I try to take a shot at Amber B. Or maybe that's who I want if I know I'm going to be the house voter, if I know that the person who's standing up there doesn't like or likes me the least and they're going to throw me in. Maybe Amber B, but a lot of the guys might say, screw this, let's throw Anissa in, just in case there's some type of random swap here at the end that we don't even have control over.
Well, with Amber B being a rogue agent, like assuming it's a female elimination next week, Amber B won't be eligible.
I'm saying for the next time.
But for the next time, yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Because, so next time it seems like CT did the right thing tonight by going and taking Big T, because he at least gives Big T a shot to get her gold skull. I wonder what would have happened if he doesn't take Big T. Does Big T just never get a chance to get a gold skull? And John said this at the very beginning. one of the problems with this twist is that because everybody plays so many times, it's so much thinking about the future and how are we going to work together, future seasons and blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hurt feelings. If this was a season of another reality show where you didn't know you were coming back, Big Brother, Survivor, something along those lines, you're trying to screw people as much as you can from getting any further. And I think that you would never see somebody side with Big T. I think you'd see CT immediately go to Amber B and say, sucks, Big T. You're probably not going to end up getting a skull here. Go complain to production about it because it's not my problem. And the same thing with Corey tonight. I think people would have said, screw you, Corey. You should have figured out a way to get in there sooner, or you should have won one of these challenges, which I get, having a fear of drowning. That's fine. But you've had a fear of a lot of things. Has Corey been the double agent yet this season?
No.
No, because
he's been the rogue agent the entire time.
Yeah, pretty much. He's kind of been a lone wolf in a pairs game.
Which, not for nothing, he's had a pretty easy road considering he's just been able to kind of go through it the entire time without having even compete half of these challenges.
And then he still gets this opportunity to get his gold skull. That's not the spirit of the challenge, in my opinion, right? You need to earn your spot in a final, and that's the whole point of this skull twist.
Right.
Corey didn't earn his spot. Yes, he won an elimination, but he only got thrown down there because he was the only person without a gold skull, right? He hasn't won a daily. He hasn't competed in half of the dailies because he's been a rogue agent the entire time. It just doesn't really seem like a good way of going about things in this case. Maybe it's the pairs aspect with the skull twist that's really kind of throwing this off. But I mean, if Corey runs this final, he coasted to the end just as much as people have in the past.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. That just because he got a gold skull doesn't mean he didn't coast. It's the same argument people, and I know people who just watch the challenge get annoyed because I'm always comparing to Survivor, but I can't help it. It's the only thing I have as a reference point. But people get annoyed when you go on an immunity run at the end. What did Jenna Maraska do that really deserved the win? All she did was win the 2 immunities at the end. That's kind of what Corey just did here. He didn't do anything the whole time, and now all of a sudden it's just like, woohoo, I'm here. Yeah. And if he wins, it feels uneventful.
Yeah, or like a kind of Dean in Island of the Idols. He had that late game surge there. Yeah. It can only help you so much to really start playing at the very end there.
Yeah. And so while it'll be, oh, good, he earned his way in, there's other people who've earned their way more. Think about Devin. He ran it twice. And yeah, he lost the second time, but he ran it twice. Somebody else is about to have to run it twice. Maybe Corey will have to run it twice too. And maybe that's their way of kind of getting back at him and saying, Corey, you have to run it again. Because you got yours last, you go up against Kyle, beat the crap out of Kyle, and get out of here. Maybe that's what happens. Who knows? But it does feel like for a lot of the season, he coasted. And not for nothing, Darrell kind of feels like he coasted too. Because Darrell didn't have to do all that much this season. I really like Darrell. I think Darrell's a really fun, he's a different type of character on the challenge. But I don't know. I just think that, he didn't have to do all that much either. The gold skull thing kind of just makes it where it's like, great, go down once. See you later. Now, how can we get all 5 gold skulls into the mix before we really start putting people down there for the second time? You know what I mean? Before we start saying, okay, let's put CT down there again, they're waiting until people have their skull or whatever it is so that 5 skulls are in the mix. That, I think, is what ultimately ended up being the problem here, is that there was no, hey, CT, you just went out there, or whoever it was. I keep saying CT because it's just on the brain. But Leroy, you went out there, you beat whoever, or Devin, you went out and beat Wes. Now, great, Devin, go out there and do it again next week against Jay. Or Leroy, you beat Jay. Now go out there again next week and beat Darrell. There hasn't been that at all.
Which is what happened last season when they had the same, a skull twist still. It wasn't running pairs, but Jay had to keep going down there over and over again. Jay went into 3 eliminations before he went home.
Yeah.
Despite having his skull.
So it's more just this season.
Because he was a rookie at the time.
I think it has to do with the quantity of skulls. There being a finite number of skulls changes the strategy you have to approach to it. And because of that, people are feeling more generous because there's this finite number. It's like there's always 5. Well, what happens then if we put down 2 people with gold skulls? There's a skull left in the pool. So there's still a chance for this person without a gold skull to get their skull.
Yeah.
Right? But they don't seem to be thinking, yes, but if we put those two back into the pool at this point, there's no one to claim that skull. So who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good point. Go ahead, Annabelle.
I think that's absolutely the issue, is the fact that it's finite, because last season it wasn't run in pairs, but there was no upfront dictated number of this is what we have, get it quick or else you're out of luck. So people were just really kind of hanging around and hoping to make it as far as they could to go into like a later elimination to hopefully get their skull then. So yeah, I think that's definitely playing a big factor in the strategy of everything. So I don't know. I think people in the comments are talking about there's no reason for Anissa to go down there because she's no threat to anybody really in the final. And while I agree with that, I still think because of the skull twist, she will go down because the girls who have their skulls want to keep them. So they want to give themselves the best chance to retain their skulls and get to that final. If there's no skull twist, yeah, absolutely take Anissa to the final.
I also think that the women have a very easy argument here for, okay, Big T is going. We know Big T is going. But then you say, hey, put down one of us, meaning Nani or I can't even think, Casey or Cam. Don't put down one of us. Put down Anissa. Because if you put down one of us, one of you is going to be stuck running the final with Anissa, which nobody wants to do. We hear about it all the time. So if nobody wants to run the final with Anissa, then the women's argument is don't pick me, pick Anissa. So she has to go down there and earn her skull. And I think that's the best way to, or not earn her skull, but earn her way into the final so that one of you doesn't possibly have to run with her because she's going to make you not win $1 million.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's really part of it is we have to remember this is a pairs game.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason Anissa is going to go down is not because of the woman. It's because of the men.
Yeah.
Because the men, whatever man is the double agent next week and they are going to pressure their partner so much to put Anissa down there so they don't have to run a final with her.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just take that kind of wild card factor out of there completely, and because you want to give yourself the best chance no matter how the partners end up shaking out.
Mm-hmm. So my question is then, is there a way to fix this? And I know like something that I've always thought about is maybe a show like this does exist and I just don't know it because I haven't seen it, or maybe it's somewhere else. But is there a way to kind of make it where every week you're kind of put in a position where if you're last, you're done, instead of having this whole head of house, double agents kind of thing? No, I know that would take away this elimination phase, but what if it's everything is kind of a time type challenge and the last two people that week have to go and do it so that it feels like you're earning your keep every single time? Because it's almost like what American Idol used to do. I know those are bad words, but it's almost like what American Idol used to do, where if you had one bad week and you got put into the bottom three, you knew it every time. You knew if you were going to be possibly eliminated, if you were one of the bottom people, and you knew that it didn't matter one week to the next. Like 1 week you could be you had the most votes, everybody loved you. The next week you're in the bottom three. Now that might keep you from going home, but they did let you know you were in the bottom three. Is there a way to kind of do that with the challenge or with this same type of twist that they're doing that doesn't take away from the chaos? Because right now I feel like the chaos is a non-issue. The only chaos is that we have to watch 3 minutes of a challenge, go to a commercial, and then come back and have a player narrate those 3 minutes of a challenge because they couldn't just tell us the challenge all at one time.
It's a tough one because at that point you're kind of getting a little like Amazing Racy.
Yeah, it's true.
And then at that point,
that is literally the show. Thank you, John.
Yeah. And then at that point, it just gets predictable too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it is so based on physicality and things like that. I think what it comes down to is you need to put more emphasis on these eliminations. You need to make them higher risk, higher reward. And I think that's what they're trying to do with the skull, right? To encourage people to go down into these eliminations more, to compete more. But the other problem is so much of this cast knew each other going into it and have played with each other for so many years at this point that they're all friends and they want to help each other out, right? Mm-hmm. I think we're just at a point in the challenge where they need a fresh infusion of new blood.
Like,
and they tried it. Like, they tried it, right? Like, they gave us 10 rookies this year. And we still have
a couple left, yeah.
A couple?
Is it two?
It's Amber and...
Is it just Amber now?
That's actually it, yep.
Yeah. So we have one left, right?
One left, just Amber.
And they tried it. They gave us a large rookie pool, but it still wasn't enough. I think at this point we just need another fresh meat season.
Yeah. So instead they're going to do season 37 starting April 1st, the Challenge All-Stars.
No, it's technically not season 37. It is technically a side.
Oh, because it's only 9 episodes too, I saw, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of like Champs vs. Contenders or whatever it was that they did previously.
Pros, yeah,
Champs vs. Pros. So it's the challenge, but not actually technically the challenge. But it's okay because we get more Darrell and Anissa on our screen.
Right. Phil, to answer your question, I think there's like a few ways that you could fix this. So one way is something that they've done in past seasons. They did it in Dirty 30 and they did it in Free Agents. And those are, if I'm not mistaken, 2 of the more like popular seasons kind of in the challenge community. Those are ones that people tend to really enjoy. So what happens there is if you are in the bottom 4, I believe it was, then you're eligible for what they call the draw or the double cross. And then basically it's like a probability game at that point. Mm-hmm. So if you draw the wrong card or something like that, then you have to go in. So there is an incentive to, keep performing well. So you are at least out of the bottom. And then it takes away the politics a little bit, but it at least does cause some chaos because it's really just up to chance. Like you could just get screwed over every single time based on the card. So I think that's an option. Another way you could do it is sort of make it like Survivor where the person with immunity, they have a little bit more power because they're not going home, but there's really nothing like special that comes with immunity apart from not being able to go home.
Yeah.
So you could just do that. Like the winners don't go home, but everyone else is eligible. And then you just throw 2 people in. And then what I think the third option would be is instead of the gold skulls, you just offer people like extra money into your bank account if you win an elimination. Because if you don't go into an elimination and you just float to the end, you still could potentially win some of the prize money, but it's less than if you had been like racking up the money from winning the elimination. So it incentivizes people because they're there for the money. That's what they want. So I think that's a better option than skulls.
And that's a good point because that is a problem a lot of reality TV shows run into. And we see it all the time on Survivor, which is great. I have no chance to win. Well, now I better just get 3rd place because I'm going to get 70K or 80K or whatever it is because second gets 100. And if you tie for second, I think you split the 1st and 2nd place prize pool. So if you know that you're going to go to the end like a Sherry Beethman and you know that it's going to be a 10-0 shutout, well, great. Let me just sit here and split my money with Dawn. It doesn't matter. And so that's what's happening. I almost wonder if maybe instead of the gold skulls, you say, okay, if you win an elimination, yes, you can get maybe more money. That is definitely an option. But maybe another option is the first time that you're not a double agent or whatever they would call it the next time, you can't be thrown in because you have like one-time immunity or something along those lines. You have something that prevents you from being able to go in again, or that gives you an advantage when it really matters. You know what I'm saying? So there's something that's powerful that comes with it that, I don't know, maybe it's even like a hidden immunity idol. It's like, hey, if you think that you're the house vote tonight, you can play this because this is what you have. And then they end up not being the house vote and they play this and then they go in, or then they don't, then they can go in at any other time. You know what I'm saying? So maybe if that's what it is, if they think that they're going to go in that night, they can play this idol or this skull or whatever they want to call it. And it prevents them from going down there, but it still keeps it so that people will want to throw them in at later times or something along those lines. Granted, that still might come to a lot of people floating and all of that, but at least it makes it so that you feel like anybody can go at any time. Because tonight, I was a little annoyed that the whole time it was, okay, who's going to face Corey? And last week, I had said the week before who was going to be running in the challenge. And I think that that's just what gets problematic is when you already know who half of it is going to be, that's no longer, oh, what's the drama? And like when you cut, when they're, oh, what's the screen going to say? Who cares? Who cares? You know, they're facing Corey. It's either Leroy or Darrell. Like, who cares? Like, there's no drama to that. It feels very 90s. Let's try to force drama out of something that there really is no drama for.
Well, I mean, you've said previously on podcasts about The Amazing Race, so that's kind of one of your contentious points about The Amazing Race, is that there are often times where it's like you're in an episode and there's that very obvious conclusion that's going to come, and it takes away the anticipation for the episode. So when we have that in the challenge, where the anticipation is then like, will Corey be able to overcome this challenge? It's not as exciting because as we said many times on this podcast, we want that drama. We want that social strategy coming into play and showing it. Corey needs to do better than be like, yo, guys, I don't have my gold skull. Throw me in. Like, why? What is the advantages to that? We're not even hearing him making deals. Like, yo, if you put me in, I'm not going to vote you next week. Mm-hmm. That's where my problem with it is at this point, is we're just being nice to Corey.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's $1 million on the line. Be cutthroat.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point, because I'm not friends with these people.
We don't
They all be friends with each other, but I'm not. You know what I don't care about? When other people's friends are nice to each other. Like, I don't care that John today might have had a great time with his roommate. I don't care that Annabelle might have had a great time with her roommate. You guys don't care that I might have had a great time with mine. That's not fun. That's stupid and that's boring, and that doesn't get reality TV shows. What gets reality TV shows is when you're mean to your roommate, or when your family all yells at each other all the time. That's what gets a reality TV show. They didn't put the Kardashians on TV because they sit around and are very calm. The Osbournes weren't put on TV because Ozzy Osbourne has all his brain cells. That's not what we were doing this for. And so I think that's my biggest problem right now, is what we're watching is a bunch of friends that we're not friends with be nice to each other. Great. They call that CBS and NBC at 8 p.m. on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Like, that is not what should be on MTV at 8 o'clock at night on their, what I guess would be one of their biggest nights of TV. That's my biggest problem. And I think that, again, that comes with a fresh meat season and all of that. But Corey went down there today because he's friends with them. That is the most boring log line in the history of time. That is not fun. That is not interesting. Nobody is going to say, hey, you should watch this show, The Challenge. Why? Well, Corey got thrown in there tonight because he's friends with the people who were head of house or double agents. It's so boring. Nobody's going to care about that. You want people screwing each other over. That's reality TV. That's what's fun. That was not what happened tonight, and that's really not what happened last week.
No, and even when we got the friend line, and this is the second season in a row we've got the friendship line for Corey. Mm-hmm. That has been his entire story again. Because last season he got the same thing when Nelson was like, yo, I'll go in so you don't have to go in. And at least that was somewhat more interesting, because it's like, Nelson, what are you doing? This is the stupidest decision ever. But at least it's somewhat entertaining. When we have Corey getting an opportunity to get his gold skull just because, right? Like, bring me the drama. I wanted Kyle to get through this so much, but we knew with Anissa that wasn't going to happen, unfortunately. I was wanting Darrell to win so much with the way he was talking up taking Casey from Leroy. He's just like, nah, I'm taking her. I know I said I wasn't going to, but I'm going to. And I'm like, yes, Darrell, give us that energy. That's what I want. And then to see him get absolutely destroyed by Corey in this challenge. It wasn't even hard for Corey. This was supposed to be a tug of war, and Corey just ran.
Yeah, it was a foot race.
And, like, clearly that rope was too long.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't care if he says he increased the tension or not. That was a sprint that was very boring and nothing happened. And SP Fan 68 says Leroy did kind of screw over Darrell, though. Did he? Like, I guess, but to me, it didn't feel like it, because I didn't understand why Darrell was working with them the entire time. Anyway, that story was built up so poorly that for him to throw Darrell down there, the drama didn't, I don't know, it didn't resonate. I mean, maybe I'm missing it, but what did you think, Annabelle?
they went with Darrell by default, basically, because they wanted, obviously, Corey to go down. They knew it was going to be a men's elimination. Leroy wasn't going to go down. They weren't going to send, Cam and CT down. And then who's Nani and Fessy. So Nani, Fessy, Leroy, and Cam, and then CT and Casey, they were the 6 that voted for the compromised agents. So for Amber and Darrell. So they knew that, there were only so many options because those, 6 are working together. And when the double agents are not part of that 6 is the majority in a house of 12. So I think, there were only so many options. And, I guess he did kind of turn on Darrell. But Darrell, he was sort of that fringe member of the alliance, I guess. And that really kind of worked against him this week.
One awkward thing about this part is that Corey and Big T went into that deliberation asking to be thrown in, right? They're like, make us the house vote, put us down there. As soon as the house didn't vote for them, which was the honorable thing to do, right? Because Kyle and Anissa decided, we should be friends. Let's throw down Corey and Big T. If the rest of the house isn't willing to do that, why are you willing to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, and Leroy, I think Leroy made a very smart move here by saying, I want to take this out of their hands because Kyle's going to throw me down, and he's probably right. So it was a very smart move. I like that. I thought that was very good. But yeah, I agree. If they're not going to do the dirty work, or if they're not going to do the easy thing, why should you do the easy thing? You want to throw down Darrell and Amber B, who both have gold skulls, and you're claiming are in your alliance? Well, great. Now Kyle has an opportunity to say, screw you. I'm going to throw down Leroy and Casey, who you were claiming is in your alliance. And guess what? Darrell or Leroy go home. That's 2 people supposedly from the same alliance. And if Amber B or Casey go home, that's 2 people from the same alliance. It would have made sense. And I think that it was uttered in this moment too, in their igloo, where he said, we were friends outside of the game. And all the times I run the challenge, we're friends together. Again, that means nothing to me. You can't say because we were friends before this feels more painful. It just needs to feel authentic in what I'm watching on TV. Because again, you have to think of it as, I'm coming in, never watching another season. Now, you can say that's my fault, but how are you going to pick up new viewers if they don't know why things are happening or why they should feel emotionally attached? Feels like a bad screenplay where they're telling you why you should be sad instead of just making you feel sad. That's how this feels to me. And so when he's like, well, we're friends outside of the game and we've done all these things together, that doesn't resonate with me. And I don't feel for Corey or for Leroy. I think Leroy made a very good move. And I think Darrell was incredibly smart tonight by saying, hey, I'm going to steal Casey from you, so you better really think twice before putting me down there. That's the best way to play this because they know that he can beat anybody. But the stakes still don't – I don't know. It was what it was. And knowing that he was just going to go up against Corey no matter what, I don't know. It just didn't feel right.
Well, it's like you don't want friends as your returnees on reality TV shows. You want enemies.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like you're casting Rob and Russell on the same season of Survivor because they liked each other.
Right.
You were doing it because they absolutely hated each other because you knew if they ever got together, it would be fantastic television. Mm-hmm. So now, because we have these people returning so often, and they've all played with each other essentially, and none of them are arguing with each other. And because of that, every season from now on, when you bring them back, they're still not arguing with each other because they're not fighting with each other.
Yeah. Although it does feel like it's going to change next week, where CT looks like he's going to be fighting with Fessy, which is good. Fessy's still a newbie. I mean, I know it's his 2nd season, so he's not a rookie, but he's still new, young blood there. That I feel like that's kind of what you need to infuse into this game. I also think the problem is, in terms of the rookies, I think the more MTV rookies went out earlier in this season. And I think that ultimately hurt it. Amber B is not a very interesting character. And maybe on Big Brother she was, but on this show she's not. She doesn't have that MTV flair. You know, when I look at Cam, I say that is a star of MTV, and I get why she has been on so many seasons. CT, I get the same thing. Like, it makes sense why the stars are the stars. I think the fact that you had Amber M, Amber B, Gabby's pretty good. I will give Gabby her due. But the fact that those were kind of your last ones, it didn't have that same feeling. Lolo, really big MTV type personality, but she just went too crazy for me. So that was just too much. But she would have been better to be the last remaining rookie than Amber, because I feel like there'd be a storyline around that. It would be, oh man, like, Lolo, I'm the last remaining rookie and I don't have my gold skull. How am I going to get this thing? I think that would be really good. And I think that also has kind of hurt them here, where because all the old timers know each other so well and they just keep hanging out with each other and being positive, and then you don't have a rookie to really come in there and stir things up. That's what's keeping it kind of flat here.
Yeah, I totally agree. Do y'all mind if we backtrack and talk about the daily a little bit?
Go.
No,
yeah, we did. That's a good point. That's a good point.
So I really liked this daily, mainly because if I were on the challenge, I would just hope and pray for as many swimming challenges as possible. I could do those. I was a lifeguard for 4 years. I swam competitively. I could absolutely do this one. I was shocked that like about half the teams got DQ'd. They had an air tank. They didn't even hold their breath. I guess, like, okay, so I've been scuba diving once. I don't know about y'all, but it is kind of weird to get used to breathing out of that and just really focusing. Once you calm down, you realize all you have to do is breathe. And it's actually very calming, and all they had to do is just pull themselves on that line, grab the rings, and go. It was a pretty simple puzzle. I don't know why they had so much trouble with the code is the word, but they did. But I was still surprised that half the teams were unable to finish.
John, you wanted to jump in?
I think, like, yes. When TJ was explaining the challenge, I was like, oh, man, they have to hold their breath the entire time. And then you see them with the regulator. It's like, oh,
yeah,
never mind.
It's actually hard.
Oh, okay, this isn't that difficult. But, I mean, it is when you're Corey and you have a drowning experience. It is when Fessy kicks the regulator out of your mouth.
Yeah. Poor Nani. Okay.
Yeah,
first of all, poor Nani. Fessy destroyed her with his foot. Poor Nani. I will say this though. And I don't know, maybe you all are what is it? The Hey Arnold character. Maybe you're both mouth breathers. I don't know. It's about the biggest insult you can give in the schoolyard, right? You're a mouth breather. But I will say, I've never been scuba diving, but I've been snorkeling a few times. The first time I went snorkeling, I was drowning. I was dead. Forget it. I'm done. Because what do? You breathe out of your nose. You breathe in and out through your nose on a daily basis, unless you're talking as much as I am. You're breathing in and out through your nose. It's not through your mouth. Because when you breathe in and out through your mouth is when you're running. It's when you're exerting yourself. It's very simple to breathe through your nose. So I think getting used to that is the hardest part. And like you said, Annabelle, getting used to it, once you're used to it, it's easy. I think the problem for a lot of these people was if you've never done it before, you don't have time to get used to it.
Right.
And so they're just saying, go in the water and go under and start breathing. Well, when you take that first breath and it goes through your nose and you suck a bunch of plastic, rubber, whatever it is, and you don't get any oxygen, immediately you panic. You're suffocating, you're dying. Now you don't have time for your brain to say, hey, I'm going to breathe through my mouth, because that's what I'm supposed to be doing. I think that's where the issue was. It's not hard, but everybody probably started off going, oh, I just got to breathe. And they breathe through their nose and it's like, oh shit, I'm about to die. And then you finally realize, okay, well, I should do this through my mouth. But by that point, it's too late. Or yes, you've been kicked in the face or whatever. I did like this challenge. I thought this was a really cool challenge. I think the reason they had a difficult time with the puzzle was because it was just the straight lines. I think that was a smart touch by MTV there, where there's so many different zigzags and things like that, that's what you're looking for. And the straight lines are right in front of your face, but that's not what you're thinking of.
I absolutely agree. This puzzle was actually a really cool puzzle, especially because it's just the simple code. You have to decode it and then descramble it. And if you're thinking about decoding, obviously the word decode comes up pretty easily when you have those letters available to you. But the fact that you kind of had to switch your mind to, instead of look at this key, and figure out what symbols from the key you have, but look at the symbols you have and then look at the key for the answer. It really presented itself in a different way, which is why some of the teams were struggling with this puzzle.
Yeah, and I was surprised to see CT and Cam struggle with this one. And I know that I feel like to them, they're both just too strong of personalities, which is what ultimately ended up costing them. But I was surprised to see the two of them struggling because I thought that they would have done really, really well with this one. So, hey, but it is what it is. I was very happy Kyle and Anissa won. I know a lot of these podcasts of late have been a lot of negging. You know, it's been very, oh God, here we go. We're sitting here watching it again. But that was one of the first times I was very, very happy watching the show since the beginning, because I was pumped that the two of them won it, because I like both of them. I really do. And I think they both bring a really interesting thing to this show that some of the other characters just aren't bringing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I felt bad for Big T, because this probably is a challenge she could have, if not won, been a serious contender for, because we know she's such a strong swimmer. And she was the only one who made it to the other side, but obviously being paired with Corey, who was like a deathly fear of drowning, that's just not conducive. But I thought it was interesting. The scenery was really pretty. I liked all those confessionals with them not understanding what tectonic plates were. I thought that was a nice touch. That would have been a fun one to try. Like, out of all the challenges I've seen this season, that would have been one I would have wanted to do.
Yeah, and I feel like this was finally, or not finally, because they have done it a couple times, but I feel like this was a very good use of the setting.
Yes.
Which I feel we're not getting at all really with the crater. I feel like the crater at the beginning, it was supposed to be built up as this big gladiator arena, and look at how exciting this is going to be. And I get that they're limited, so like I won't knock them too much. I'm just happy for them that they were able to put out a show during COVID and all of that. But there's nothing Iceland about the crater anymore. There's nothing epic about the crater. And I feel like this type of challenge, you get the beautiful blue water or the beautiful clear water. It wasn't even blue. You didn't even realize they were underwater half the time. I feel like that was really, really cool. And what I would feel would be better for this type of thing, if they would really, start to dwell on those things. It's too late now, but some of these have been really nice when they, when they're jumping when they're holding off the edge of the cliff and all of that. Those are fun. The crater stuff, which is supposed to be the more dramatic part of the show, really just has not brought it at all.
Yeah, part of that comes from the lackluster eliminations we've had, and the very one-sided eliminations we've had through it. Then again, one of the most one-sided eliminations we had was also one of the most exciting, when we had Darrell versus Jay. Or not Darrell, Leroy versus Jay.
Yeah.
Right?
That was one-sided because they were both so damn good at it, and Leroy was just a tank.
And I think we were just so invested because we love Jay as Survivor fans.
That's also true.
We wanted Jay to win.
And I do wonder if that would have had a different impact on us had Natalie not had to be pulled from the game, or had Jay stayed around a little bit longer. Would we care more? And has that been kind of the reason why we've gotten a little bit more negative? Which it could be. That would totally make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we tried to watch the challenge because we're filling the void of no Survivor. And it's not necessarily fair that we're projecting our wishes about Survivor onto the challenge, because they're completely different shows. But that doesn't mean that the challenge couldn't, step it up a little bit more in the strategic areas, for sure.
You could still root for what you want. I mean, ultimately, we shouldn't be comparing it to Survivor on every aspect, but you could still root for what you want, which what I want is something like that.
Yeah. One thing I really want to talk about, actually, with the strategic aspect of it, we had two different people talking about regretting their switch of partners today. Because we had both Nani and CT talking about their regretting of switching partners. Nani, because she couldn't get along with Fessy at all, and CT, because he realized that him and Cam are both alphas, and having the two of them there together means that they're not a good team.
And it's too early in the game, to be doing that for him. Now he's got to spend too much time with Cam. And I was more confused by the Nani one than anything, because why are you missing Kyle and vote and not being happy with Fessy? And I get it. Like, Fessy seems a little weird, whatever, but Kyle also seems a little weird. But, CT going back with Big T at the end of this episode, that was like one of the least shocking things. It just felt like, okay, he knows. Why does CT do this? Big hero CT.
Yeah.
Why does he do this? Because he knows that she's got to go down there and get her gold skull, or she's not running the damn final anyway. So what difference does it make? And everybody's going to vote for her to go in. He knows it's going to be a female elimination. And guess what? He's going to get a new partner. So why does he care?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's exactly what it comes down to. And I mean, you knew he was taking Big T back right away. And he goes on his long spiel about like doing her dirty and needing to like make up for it. And it's like, whatever, CT. We know what you're actually doing here.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's not fooling us for sure with the whole hero thing.
No, because it's so transparent what's about to happen. Big T's going to go down there. She's going to go against somebody. She's probably going to lose. And CT then is going to get whoever she goes against, which the options are pretty good. Granted, we know he doesn't want to run with Anissa, but he's going to be going against – he's either going to get Amber B, he's going to get Cam, he's going to get Casey.
Oh, wait, he can't get Amber B.
He can get Amber B because he can pick the road if nobody picks him. And then he ends up with her. So, or he gets Nani. Like, there's plenty of options there. He's not going to be disappointed in any of them. And even in Nisa, it's like, okay, whatever. I still have a chance to get rid of her at some point. Maybe if this does go to 8. But yeah, I was surprised Nani was worried about Fessy. I don't get that.
So, does this go back to the point I made when CT made the decision to leave Big T? He should have taken Casey.
And again, why? Explain the logic, because there's too many moving parts sometimes.
Of course. So the logic behind it was, I didn't even think about the fact that Cam and CT would not get along with each other because they were both alphas. But because, like I said, when he took Cam, there's too much time left in the game. Whatever man wins an elimination is going to take Cam. You're just going to be stuck with the leftovers. If he took Casey, it's a lesser target. I mean, today we learned that is not true, and Casey was also being viewed that way. But Casey was a lesser target. People were less likely to take her. And therefore, you had a better chance of having a strong partner in the end.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Because now he's probably going to get stuck with kind of like a leftover type thing here.
Maybe I'm just taking the confirmation bias, but whatever. It proves I was right, so I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, that's also a good point.
If only you had been advising him. He should have listened to you.
I like that. But yeah, I mean, confirmation bias is what makes the podcasting world go around. Let's be real. Exactly. Anybody who says anything and they can remember it more than an episode, then they say, that's why I did that. John, welcome. You're really becoming a professional at this. Yeah, so I guess there were some strategic elements going on here. I guess there's some points to be made here. And yeah, CT's in a weird position here because if it does end up being Big T versus Anissa, he's going to have Anissa or Big T as his partner after that, probably. If it ends up being, and then let's say it does go to 8, he's going to have to hope that his partner goes in there, or that he's the last person to go, or he throws himself down there, and he's one of the last people to actually win to stay alive, so that he gets a new partner, because it's not looking great for him right now in terms of having a good partner to run this final with.
Well, and one of the more interesting parts is also it doesn't matter so much who wins next week's elimination as it does who the double agent is. Because Anissa will maybe take Fessy again.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And people seem to be fighting over Fessy for him for the final. So as long as Fessy's not the double agent, CT might not have to have Anissa if she does go in and win the elimination next week. But if Fessy is, then maybe CT's the best option. So, like, there's so many variables that it comes into. And this is kind of the point where in the game where I think this rogue agent twist, or not the rogue agent twist, the double agent twist really comes in interesting. And maybe what it came down to is this season just had too many people on it.
Yeah, that's true, too. I mean, I do think that the double agent thing is much more meaningful now than it was early on, because a lot of the time it was, I have a target on my back and now I'll win the double agent so I don't have to go down there. But at the end of the day, you have to win the gold skull ultimately. So now it really is serving as immunity in some way, because then you don't have to go down there and get your gold skull, which you already have. So now it's a lot more meaningful. It is a little bit more interesting, but
is there any scenario where Big T can beat Anissa or someone else for that matter in an elimination next week?
Depends on anyone can win any eliminate or against anyone depending on the elimination. But if Anissa and Big T go in a hall brawl next week together,
no.
Right.
No.
I mean, even if Big T goes against Nani, she's not going to beat her in a hall brawl.
I'm trying to think about challenges though that would work to Big T's advantage. Like maybe that one
the fire escape probably
jumping off the middle to grab things. She could do fire escape. It's kind of hard to tell on TV. Is she tall? Like, does she have really long limbs? I didn't think. Yeah.
Oh no, not at all.
No.
Big T's like kind of a ironic nickname, I guess. But
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
SP fan just said based on the trailer, it's Hall Brawl, but I don't think it's going to be Anissa going in. Okay, but who's Big T going to beat in a Hall Brawl? I don't think she beats anybody in a Hall Brawl. Maybe she beats Nani, but I feel like Nani's just a more competitive person. That
I
she
feel like
just
Nani would be faster too. I don't know though.
yeah
Yeah, because that's the other thing is it's not just strength. It's also like if you're hitting, because that's what we saw the last time we saw a Hall Brawl when it was Amber versus Amber.
Right.
Right? Like Amber going in super fast, Amber B going in and getting further in on Amber M meant that she has the advantage in the Hall Brawl because she's closer to the exit. So even if you get into the stalemate and eventually just like Jimmy your way over the other person, then if you're the one who's closer to the side, you're going to get there first.
Yeah, definitely.
Crazy that we're seeing was this the third Hall Brawl for the women, or is it just the second? Am I just making this up?
Second.
It's the second one for the women, third overall, and that's how it was, I think, for Snapping Point this week too. Third overall one, and I think that honestly just comes down to the fact that they have probably limited production with COVID. Would be my guess.
Yeah, I think that's 100% right.
They don't usually vary that many in the eliminations. You usually get about 5 or 6 that you rotate between each season.
Maybe it just feels like there's been so many eliminations because the seasons are longer than they used to be.
I think that's what it comes down to.
You're just like, oh, this again. Like it's just
I don't care. Give me a Hall Brawl every week. I will take a Hall Brawl.
Yeah, Hall Brawl's fine. Snapping Point doesn't do much for me.
Well, and it also doesn't help when you can win Snapping Point by just sprinting to the finish. That's not fun. I don't need to watch.
Yeah, we didn't even get that. We didn't get that Devon versus West tension that we had the first time, right?
Yeah.
Because there was no tension on that court because Darrell was really slow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even think Darrell was really slow. I just think Corey was really fast.
Corey's pretty quick. Yeah, I mean, he played football, I believe. Like he's definitely an athlete. He knows how to sprint. I mean, Darrell owns a gym for a living, so he's definitely fit too. But yeah, I guess he's more of a strength guy than a speed guy. It's
one of those things. I always, as a cross country and track runner, there's this whole thing where any sport you can pull an upset. We see Evansville beat Kentucky the one time, or Duke, or whatever the hell it was, or even if Austin beats Duke. We see all these things. The only sport you can't really pull an upset in is running.
Yeah.
Because either you're fast or you're not. And you can get faster. And somebody might have an off day. But if you're not in their same ballpark, you can't do anything about it. And if these two ran a 40 next to each other, Corey's going to win by over a second in a 40. That's crazy. That's a lot of time. You can't make that up. There's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it looks like next week, in addition to potentially a Hall Brawl, they are skydiving.
Yeah, maybe it's a good thing Darrell got eliminated this week.
I agree.
Yeah, I would not be doing that.
I would not be able to do that either. As somebody who hates heights, you can forget it. I would never skydive, and Darrell would probably just say, I'm done. See you. Thanks.
This is another challenge I would want to do. I want to skydive so bad. It's on my bucket list. I bungee jump. Skydiving is next for me, so I would love to do this.
I will never jump out of a perfectly functioning plane.
I don't really like being on perfectly functioning planes, let alone jumping out of them. There is no way in hell I'm jumping out of a plane.
You guys are lame.
I am lame. I like having both feet on flat ground at all times.
Heights are fun. I'm going to go hang out on my balcony after this, Phil, if you want to.
Oh, God. I kind of am curious now. Okay. Anyway, we're going to end the podcast so I can see how high up Annabelle lives because I can't do it. 3 floors or higher, I start losing my shit. But anyway, you're on 4? I might be okay on 4. As long as you're not on I had a friend who lived on 23 in downtown Miami, and I was like, oh my God. He had a wraparound balcony. It was the corner.
Yep.
No, thank you.
Yeah,
no, thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to virtually pinch you both because you're not wearing green on St. Patrick's Day.
I have red hair. I don't have to.
Oh, so do I. I'm wearing green.
But you don't have to.
I'm also not Irish, so...
Yeah. Well, no, you don't have to be Irish to wear green on St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, now we're getting off topic. All right. That's it for tonight's episode of the Challenge Layups. And that's what our name is now, Annabelle, in case you didn't see last week.
I did
but see. So anyway, I think we have 3 or 4 episodes left, whatever it is, 3 eliminations and then a final. So 4 episodes. We have a month left of this thing. Hope you're enjoying it, even if it doesn't seem that we necessarily are. I do enjoy just talking about anything. So whatever, even if it is in kind of a not great way. But John and I talked about Borat and the Wicker Man last night, so check that out if you haven't yet. Really fun talk, especially Borat, considering, just, American things. So go watch that episode if you haven't, or listen to it on Spotify or iTunes. We'll be back again next Wednesday with this. Alexa and I will be back next Tuesday with another classic Survivor episodes talking about I Want to Make a Deal, the Yao Man and Dreams episode, one of the all-time classics that has become so forgotten. And John and I will be talking about The Wizard of Oz and whatever John's movie is. John, what is your movie?
The Lobster.
Oh, The Lobster. Okay, good. I don't know why I completely drew a blank, but that's what we'll be talking about on Tuesday. Become a patron, patreon.com/Survivor Specialist. We changed our name to The Specialist just to be The Specialist for now because we talk about so much other stuff anyway. Calling ourselves just Survivor Specialist seems pretty lame. SP Fan 68, I will never watch the Justice League Snyder Cut. I will save my 4 hours and do something else meaningful with my life. Sorry, no offense. I really can't stand things though. But anyway, go enjoy the Justice League Snyder Cut if that's what you really want. He doesn't need me to promote him, that's for sure. As I was saying, become a patron. $20 patrons, daily content. I'm just winging it at this point, but hey, we're going to go as long as we can possibly go with it. Weekly content for everybody else who's a $10 patron, $5 patrons, monthly content. And enjoy March Madness. It begins tomorrow. It's been 2 years. Enjoy tomorrow night with the playing games, even if it's not real March Madness. And we will see you next week, everyone.